this is where the story gets very, very sad, because you can tell I'm a little bit of an overachiever. The first 5 people that we met with and asked to join the board said no. And trust me, if you knew Debbie Hoffman, you would know that no one ever says no to Debbie Hoffman. But they said no. Now here's the happy part of the story. They said no because they loved the ReServe story so much that they said, if I'm on your advisory board, I won't be able to help you in the ways I think I can help you if I'm just a friend. And we said, wow. So we had people that were connected to foundations, government, press. One of our friends is the business editor of the Miami Herald, a woman by the name of Jane Woolridge. And Jane said, I'll be able to get you press. And she said, well, you guys have to tell me what you're doing. So we left her on all the emails to the advisory board. And I will tell you that she shows up, even if we have quarterly board meetings, she shows up at least 1 or 2 a year. And she's just a friend. So we were thrilled to have these people giving us advice. But again, we have to report back to New York that we had actually 2 advisory board members, Ann and Debbie. So they weren't too happy about that. So we had to sit down and create a strategic plan. And I think when you start with a blank slate, it gets a lot easier to create something that's very meaningful. By then we had enough experience that we knew that we needed people from the nonprofit world, the business world. We knew that because Miami was a very, very diverse community, that we would need people of Spanish, African American, and Haitian descent. And so we made a list of what I'll call the Ann and Debbie best new friends list. And one by one, we met with these people and we asked them to come on the board. I will say that we were very forthright in what we wanted from them. And I think this is very important because people are, by and large, overscheduled and way too busy these days. And when you're a startup, those of you in the room who are just getting going, no one's ever heard of you. What is this about? What do you really want from me? Is this an ask for money? You know, I've been there. I know that's what they're thinking. So we said, let's just be right up front. We would love your money, but that's not what we really want. We really want your intellect. We want you to make introductions for us to your nonprofits. A lot of people are on a lot of different boards, are engaged in many enterprises. So we want and expect that you will introduce us to your centers of influence. The second thing we want is we want you to educate us about any cultural sensitivities and share your best ideas. We had people, honestly, and we still, in fact, if you look in the back of the program, you'll see a list of our advisory board members. And you can get a sense that we have people that represent almost every nationality that's largely represented in our demographic in Miami. So we also said, we want you to allow us to use your name. It's not what you know, it's who you know. But if nobody knows you know them, then it doesn't really count, does it? So on almost everything we do, which is why I was thrilled to see my list in the back of the program, we let everybody know that if they come on our advisory board, they're going to be hanging with some pretty heavy people, and that they will be of like kind. So that's really helped us. When we go after new people, they always say, well, who else is on your board? And then when they look, they go, oh, okay. We have quarterly board meetings. We tell them right up front, that's it, no other meetings. Daisha will be calling you if she needs any favors or introductions, or she wants you to come to an event, or she needs you to underwrite an event. God only knows what Daisha's going to ask. But basically it's quarterly meetings. And then we ask them all to be ambassadors for ReServe. So since we're asking them to be ambassadors, frankly, at first it just kind of happened, but now we realize
how appropriate it is that everybody that's on our advisory board is in the target age group, meaning that they're over 55. Some are retired, most aren't. They're all very, very engaged. They're all leaders, and I think that that's been very helpful. Debbie's background is public relations, and she went and graduated from law school in her late 40s. And I've always been an entrepreneur, well, except when I work for other people. But typically, for most of my adult life. So we're kind of like frick and frack, and we're a little bit opposite, so we get it that things need to be very inclusive, and that if you're talking to too many people that are totally of like mind, you really don't get enough perspective. So really, our advisory board now, I can brag. Trust me, 2 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to even stand up here. It took a long time to get these people in place. Now we're looking at, there's actually, Daisha, I think we've recruited a couple more that need to go on the list, and we need to talk about how much do we want to limit it. But possibly not just yet, because we find that some people are retiring and moving out of Miami, and we really want people that are very, very connected to the community. We now have 15 board members, advisory board members, and 5 or 6 of ex officio, what we call friends. And then, like I say, if you look at the list, you can tell how diversified it is. I had a lot of like, oh, you should do this, you should do that, but you know, I'm a big fan of, is there any experience that, or question in your mind that I could answer or Daisha could answer? Because I think that it was so hard for us to get our board together, and now that we have perspective, it seems like, geez, that wasn't so hard at all. Getting money is now the latest hard thing. Any questions? Yes, Carol?
Why do you think it was important to have all members of your advisory board be of the reservist age? Don't you think there would be a benefit of having some younger individuals on that as well?
Well, it was accidental. What happened?
I was just asking why Ann had made a point of saying that everyone on the advisory board was of the reservist age, and I was questioning whether there would be value, and I think there would be value, although our advisory board doesn't have it either, to have somebody of a younger generation.
Well, our number one priority starting out were we wanted real leaders. We wanted people that if you said, well, I'm thinking of Tony Ortiz. So Tony checks a few boxes. Tony's head of the largest private accounting firm in Miami. He probably sits on 6 or 8 board stations. Yes, he's the chair of right now, the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce. He's Catholic. He's very devout and well known. I sit on another board with him. He's very philanthropic. And his company's philanthropic. So when we said we got to get Tony, because we can have all of this expertise on the board, and it just so happens when you go for leaders, they typically are over 55. But I don't know. I love that you're saying maybe we should have some younger people there. And Debbie and I are totally in the target age group, which is a problem because we're doing all the recruiting. Now I think that the next phase will be Daisha telling us, can you guys get me X? Another example of our strategic thinking, at some point Daisha decided that she needed help on marketing, and we were marketing to the Hispanic community for ReServe that were Spanish speaking to mentor the kids that were Spanish. And so Debbie came up with Ida Levitan, who had her own Spanish advertising agency. And so she and Daisha, she came on the advisory board and she helped Daisha with an event and la da 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 da. I mean, once people get engaged, they're there forever, but we're very strategic about what do we need. I mean, I don't know about the rest of you, but I sense we're all in the same boat, that we have like 1 or 2 employees. In Miami, we have 2 employees and 1 reservist, 1 excellent reservist in Virginia. But they need, the advisory board gives them capacity. And especially if you've met Daisha, you know that she's not shy to tell us exactly what she needs us to go and get her. And I think it's a great relationship because I'm kind of really good at somebody telling me what to do, task-oriented, and our leaders, people like you, Carol, probably know exactly what you need on your team in order to maximize the efforts that you're putting into the Boston community. The other thing that came in just thinking about giving this little presentation to all of you was, you know, movers and shakers, no other movers and shakers in other markets. I was telling Lori that I have a really terrific friend in Milwaukee who's a real mucky-muck. She runs a global company. But I think she'd be very, and it's a staffing company. I think she'd be very interested in ReServe and the work we're doing. So we've never really thought about how do we collaborate more between all of the different communities, and I think we should really be thinking, I know you have calls and with Laura, but I'm just thinking, your other community members, your advisory board members, how can we help you? What should we be doing? What do you need from us? Is there something, relationship between what's going on in my community that could be going on in yours? And I just sense that there's a lot of collaboration between the centers. Like Daisha, you always seem to be talking to people. I don't get to talk to anybody. So if anyone needs help with their advisory board or anything else, I mean, I can honestly tell you, Debbie Hoffman is probably on 6 or 8 boards, but I will tell you that ReServe is her passion. She is emailing us in the middle of the night with ideas. She's into it. So don't underestimate the power of the mission. People love this. I mean, even the people that say no say, because I want to do this for you. You know, I don't recall that anyone has ever said no. Well, Dade County School Board when we asked for money, but I mean, other than money. But anyway, like I say, it was a tough assignment. I really thought it was going to be hard. It was hard in the beginning, like everything that's new. Ursula said it this morning. But once it started coming together, to be in 2 years saying how much are we going to limit this, who are we going to let in, is pretty amazing. And I'm really honored to be a part of it. And like I say, I'm blessed that I get to work with such wonderful people in Miami. And now that we are at our first national conference, it all seems so very real. So thank you very much.